We'll go ahead and continue on with our media center availability this afternoon with Danica Patrick, driver of the number 7 GoDaddy.com Chevrolet in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Second new car race for Danica. First one was at Michigan, so now here at Charlotte. Had an opportunity to work with Mark Martin a little bit yesterday, too, we understand, Danica. So talk about maybe your extended practice test yesterday, California last week, how well you ran, and then coming in here.
Hello everybody. It feels like I'm starting to pick things up that are important to the race car, to make it good for the race, to make it good over a long run. I feel like maybe in the beginning I focused a lot on how the car felt initially out there, and I guess when I think a little bit more about that, I think about my experience primarily being in an Indy car, and a lot of times you can feel what the tendencies of the car are doing by the outlaps, and I don't think that's really true here. Sometimes you have to put up with maybe a slightly loose car on the first lap or two because they transition so much from the beginning to the end of a run. So just learning those things. It was great to be able to have a practice day yesterday. I haven't been here before. I have been here before many, many times, actually, but I was racing in the little go-kart track inside of 3 and 4, so I have a lot of memories here, and I did walk around the track one time, which was a big mistake because the banking's a little bit too much, but I have been here plenty of times, but obviously never in a stock car or anything like that around the big oval. So Mark was there yesterday morning, and he hopped in the car and drove it, and just kind of wanted to get a feel for it and get it close for me. And so when he hopped out, I got in, and I didn't go as fast as him, to my disappointment, but not to my shock. So we worked on the car all afternoon, and I think that some of our styles are a little bit different. And these cars, it's amazing how hard you work on, getting the travels right and getting the splitter in the front even across and down on the ground. So, with our weights and styles differences, it changes things. So, we worked on the car a little bit, but it was nice to have that reference and nice to have a baseline. And he's been really nice since the first time I ever met him. So I used his seat to make mine. So he's been helping me longer than he knows. So and then we got on with it, and I think we had an okay day. I think at the end of the day we were able to keep up with some fast cars out there. And today we went out in the practice, and we weren't quite as quick as I would have hoped at the beginning. It wasn't until actually my third run out there that I actually did my quickest lap. And after coming in, I said I could have gone quicker if the rear was a little bit better. But like I said, somewhat you have to put up with that. So I'm thinking about the race car, and I feel like we're getting it closer. I had a little bit of a vibration out there. Well, not a little bit, a lot of a vibration. So we didn't really finish the practice off with the last run or two that we wanted to do. But I feel like we're going in the right direction with the car, and we just have to get it good for qualifying so that it's not too loose, because like I said, it's just got to have it looser for a race car, but in qualifying that makes it a little tough. So I know I rambled on a lot, but gave you plenty to write, hopefully.
You ready?
Right.
Okay. You got questions for Danica, let us know. Raise your hand. We'll bring the wireless mic to you. We'll go to Bruce, we'll come to Tom, and then we'll go to Ed.
Bruce Martin with SportsIllustrated.com. For what this track means to this sport being the center of the industry, does it have a certain aura that you feel when you come in here?
Yeah, it's a good question, Bruce. I actually, the first time I came in here the other night after arriving, I drove in, and the first thing I said was, I was like, oh my gosh, this is where we lined up in go-karting and signed in and got all our pit passes, and then we drove our trailers in, and then I made my bus driver take me and Haley around the go-kart track, and I totally remembered it too, which is shocking because it's only been more than a decade. And then I stopped and told them stories about the last couple of corners. Actually, there's in my book that I wrote, there's some pictures from the little go-kart track in here where I drove over Sam Hornish Jr., and so I told that story because he tried to take me out the lap before, so I drove over the top of him. into the last corner. Anyway, so I have a lot of those memories because that's what I did here. But you definitely feel like you're at a really important race. That's just how it feels. I want to do well. There's a lot of really passionate fans. We went to signed autographs at Junior Motorsports today, and there were people that were camping out since Monday to get their wristbands so they could go to the autograph session today. So, you just got to, I feel like there's a lot of people that are going to be watching, and, it makes you want to have a really good weekend. So, hopefully we can get the car dialed in the last practice, and then probably most importantly for me, and I saw it at Fontana, was that, if I can qualify up in the top 15 or 20, it just really helps me not get so vulnerable in the first run, because we usually tighten the car up for the first run so that it's, anticipating if it's loose, because if it's loose, there's nothing I can do. But if it's tight, you can drive around it for a while. So that'll be what we'll be looking to make sure is good.
We'll go to Tom, we'll go to Ed, and then we'll go to Nate.
Hi, Danica. Tom Jensen, Speed.com. When you came into this, you said it was going to take you some measure of time, some number of races, to decide what your future was going to be, whether this is where you belong or whether you ultimately wanted to stay in Indy cars. Are you any closer to a decision on that? And if so, what is it?
Yeah, no, I mean, we haven't even done race 2 of this 6-race stretch, so there's still a lot of racing to be done this year. I know for sure it'll be a full IndyCar and part-time NASCAR schedule for next year, but after that I'm not 100% sure. And so there's still a lot of racing to be done to really come to those conclusions. But I think this 6-race stretch will tell a lot about a lot. But then again, we go to Fontana last weekend, and there's such a difference from the first time there to the second time there, and I'm still for the rest of the year going to be at tracks that I've never been to before. So, it's hard to be super critical when you're coming to the racetrack for the first time. So, I think, but weekends like last weekend are things that are good to see for thoughts about the future here, and what kind of presence they'll be with me.
Ed Hinton, ESPN.com. 2 questions, Danica. One sort of following up. I'm over to your left.
There you go.
Behind the big bag.
Behind the suitcase.
Yeah. One in follow-up to Tom's question. With the conventional wisdom in the Cup garage from Kurt Busch and others being, if you want to do this, really know this, and really do it right, you should jump into it full time. A, is that even contractually possible for you next year? And B, if it were, would you consider it, and might you do it?
Yeah, good question. I contractually am not able to do it next year. I'm still able to do basically the same sort of framework as this year. Probably about roughly the same same amount of races and everything. Obviously, it revolves around the IndyCar schedule, which is shaken up a little bit. We've changed a bunch of races, so it will be a different schedule, but similar times for everything. So yeah, I'm not able to do it next year, even if I wanted to.
And the other part, you mentioned coming in, the running over Hornish in the kart race. And you've always told that story with quite a satisfied smile on your face every time. That led me to believe right then that you were more of a NASCAR personality, maybe than IndyCar personality. Then you get involved in that little beating and banging last week with the questionable hit from Buescher and whether you had him pinched off, coming off the corner and all. Are you starting to think, is this starting to make you think, well, maybe NASCAR is the right kind of place for me?
I mean, I can't deny my IndyCar roots and my open wheel roots and where I've come up through the ranks. The racing is there's not as much passing as this, but they're very technical, and the sensations you get in those are really amazing. You can't achieve them in these cars. But when I come back over here, I was just saying the other day that yesterday we were just talking about the word descriptions. And understeer, oversteer versus tight and loose and push and all those other words. And I said, you know what? All these words are the same words that I used to use when I raced go-karts. And, you talk about the bumping. I mean, I was talking to Kelly Earnhardt's little daughter, and she's racing, and, she's talking about running with people. I'm like, hey, they getting, if you can't get by somebody, you just hit them into the corner and get them out of the way. So, like, that's what I used to do when I raced go-karts. I mean, if I didn't get by them in two corners, I just hit them going into the corner and pushed them wide and went by them. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't want you to think I was a really rough driver. I was just got through. But anyway, that's going to come off totally wrong. I'm sure of it. Yeah, I mean, I like being able to, make my own destiny a little bit with people out there. And there's a lot of drivers in IndyCar that push you around and do things that you can't believe. You're like, are you trying to flip the car? I mean, if I didn't lift, that's what would happen. So, I don't want to put myself in that position in those cars a lot of times. So I might come across as a little bit more of a pushover over there. But I mean, in this series, you've got fenders all the way around, and if someone makes you mad enough, for sure, you can just take them out. And it's you can create, you make your own way. You don't have to be taken advantage of because someone is just more crazy than you. So this is not going well.
That begs. Now, this is great. This is NASCAR. Welcome to that.
They do cheer when I talk about crashing. I did a little Q&A at Fontana, and they were like, what's your favorite thing about racing stock cars? And I said, the bumping, I think. You can get out there and you can run with people, and the whole crowd's like, yeah. So they do get into that.
All this begs one.
I get into that.
All this begs one simple, quick follow-up. Would Buescher be well advised to give you room tomorrow night?
I think it's pretty sure to say that at this point in time, I'm not going to make it my mission to go out there and take him out because I don't want anything to take away from my race. But if he starts to, if he in any way starts to act up out there, yeah, I'm going to do something about it because it's not. I hope that after he thinks about what he did last weekend, and it maybe if he plays well with others, then we'll be able to carry on. But if he doesn't, then there's going to be a need for something to happen because you can't get pushed around out there. You can't. And there might be that chance though that we might not race against each other until the end of the year or next year. I mean, you know what I mean? So, you're not always, there's 43 of you, so you're not always running with them. But obviously we're of little experience and we're trying really hard. So we'll probably find each other out there at some point. But hopefully he plays well. I never mentioned it, but I raced with him at the beginning of the race last weekend for a good few laps, and I'm pretty sure that was the car that I was racing with. It was either the 10 or the 11, and we raced fair, and I got by him, and I don't know what happened. I mean, like I said, I got into him a little bit the lap before, but I was trying to take him out.